pleasure to be here. Everything Saz said is true. I am to be blamed. I'll do my best to share with you today the most difficult job in the world. What is the most difficult job in the world? It's parenting, being a parent. But being a parent overseas, not in your country, is double more difficult. Being a parent and growing your kids, raising them in China, is triple challenging. So I really feel I had a very difficult job and still have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. They're up there. And as you see, we had to move from an Air Force environment in a small city in Israel, grow up the little kids and bring them over here to China. The parent role is so critical because number one, you are the example of for your children. You are the one they look up to. Everything you do has an impact. Not everything you say, mostly everything you do. I will share with you the points I think are the best points and most relevant points to raising children in general and specifically in China. Number one is a very deep Jewish issue. Raise your children to ask questions. Raise your children not to be afraid to ask the wrong question. Raise your kids to be proud to challenge you. It's okay. If you do this, you will be able to step by step move forward, as you just heard from Raz. But still, you need to balance between listening and talking. When you're in your own culture, you can balance 50-50. It's okay. Some people tend to talk more, some people tend to listen more. Try to balance. When you come to China and you deal with the environment, whether it's in school, in the street, in work, at business, especially as a foreigner, keep 80% on listening and asking questions. It's critical. I will quote what Warren Buffett is quoting. I truly believe in it, more now than ever. For your success, for your children's success, 85% of it will come from their communication skills, not from their technical skills. Yes, you can learn, have good grades in school, know to draw, no grammar, no math, no physics, yes. They will contribute only 15% to your real success. Your communication skills, how you communicate, with who and what timing are the most critical for your success. Teach that to your children and focus more time on their communication than did they finish their homework and did they guess the best grades. Grades are nice. They are only 15%. When you communicate with other people, keep in mind what people really want is recognition. They will talk to you about money, about the position, about ideas, but deep in their heart, people want recognition. Also, your children want recognition. The people who your children speak with are looking for recognition, but nobody talks about it. My life experience, this is a key point. Share it with your children. Especially with you in another culture, especially in China. No pre-assumption. Don't have any stereotypes. Share with your children your feelings, your opinions, not pre-assumption about these people are like that and that place is like this and this location is like that. No, just no pre-assumption, free of opinions will get you the most forward and give you the best experiences, because in the end, life is about experiences. It's about collecting experiences. I always tell my children, no matter what your grades are, no matter if you have achieved more or less, as long as you tried the best you can and you collected life experiences. This is the meaning of living. Share that with your children. Kindness and politeness. In China, critical. Everywhere it's important. Be kind, be polite. Not always, it's not a way of life, but keep that in mind. It will take you forward. But this is the most important one, the concept of risk. Everything you heard from Ra's challenges was about managing risk. As a fighter pilot in the Israeli Air Force, most of what I did was managing risk. How you look at the risk. You don't ignore the risk, you're not afraid of the risk. You manage the risk. You time the timing, you measure. If it doesn't kill you, it will probably improve you. So how you do it in what balance? Educate your kids not to be afraid of risk. Risk includes failure. It's not the only thing. Risk is sometimes you're risking your health, sometimes you're risking your relationships, and sometimes risk is risk of failing. Failing is something that makes you grow. Health is something you have to be careful for. So what is the concept of risk in what term? From a very young age, don't educate no risk. Risk is there anyway. Avoiding risk brings you risk. You have to manage it. So this kind of concept helps a lot the children to deal with the reality out there, not in a protected box. Many parents, especially in the West and in Israel, they tend to protect their kids. Some parents in China, it's all about protecting them. Protection is a risk. It's a concept of risk, although you feel you're protecting. But actually, they have to deal with the risk once they're out there. And now, being out there is also on the internet. Yes, on WeChat, there is a risk. There is emotional risk, there is a financial risk, there is a misconception risk, and these risks will just go higher and higher. Protection is not a solution, and it's not the concept of risk. Concept of money. Money, for many people, represents ability to buy something. Some places, it's a lot about status. But in China, what we have learned, it has much deeper meaning. And share that concept of what is money with your children. I know that in the West it's different. In China, money represents many times favors. Money represents a social issue. Money represents ability to protect the basics. So it's a much wider concept and a different exchange. Many times foreigners who live in China, they have to deal with a dictionary issue. We are using the same word, but it has different meanings in China and outside of China. And a lot of misunderstandings come out of it. Money is just one of them. Trust. Everywhere you go in life, specifically in China, trust is the base of everything in order to make things together. Togetherness and trust come hand by hand. How you create trust? It doesn't work by trust me. It doesn't work, I will give you something and you give me back. These are words, these are trade. Trust is created especially when there is a foreigner involved by structures, because you don't have the time. You cannot go back to them in high school or college or share the same accent or the same family. You're a foreigner, so you build the right structure. You exchange favors. You give security. You give safety. You build things that are written by third parties, not necessarily contracts. So there are many ways to build trust. There is no trust, you have no foundation. I'm teaching this to my kids because I believe there is no one formula of success. And you have to have a group. You cannot be only individual. And the group, to be your group, is only if you share the trust. Because when the low time comes, they will be there for you. When the high time comes, they'll be happy, but the low times are the one that gets you the value. Western people, Western kids, have a tendency to go direct, communicate direct, act direct. It's like we play chess. China is much more complicated, much more strategic, and less transparent. Much more a strategy game. Teach your children to play chess and play Go. And you switch between them. If you only play Go, you will lose when you're faced with chess, and the other way around. So variety of tools, not only variety of games, are critical for you guys to give your children the tools to fight with the future for their own happiness and success. There is more than one strategy. Life brings more and more challenges and changes. The increase of challenges will just go up and up. There will be more and more challenges. When the challenges come, you need to pick which one you really relate to. You must learn, teach your kids to ignore many things. You cannot relate to everything. You cannot get your emotion all over the place. Things you don't like, challenges you didn't face, you don't have to deal with them. You have to prioritize and ignore what is not important. One key issue I love about China is the deep thinking, and there's 5,000 years of history, and the Chinese saying. There's a lot of wisdom in them. And many times when I talk to my children, I would use a Chinese saying in order to convey a message. It doesn't have to be direct. It could be using the Chinese. For example, for them, sometimes a close neighbor is much more important than a distant relative. It has big meanings when you're doing cross-border parenting and having to raise your children in this environment. Fear. Everybody here is afraid of something, whether it's from certain people, from health issues, from the future, from the past, from failing. It's a cousin of managing risk. But if you're already afraid and fear drives your decision, it must be managed. All your actions should never, never, never be driven by fear. Your kids should have the ability to communicate their fear to you or to their friends or to their environment and find a way to manage it. You cannot eliminate fear. Fear is there, but it cannot drive your decision. So disconnect decision-making from fear. You teach this, you solve your kids a lot of issues, and they will grow up much more healthy. Orange mindset. It's this story that I tell the kids from young age about two people who fight on the orange. The last orange was left in the market. I want it, I'll pay more, I'll pay less. Starts a bid. The issue is that orange that you are fighting on, in most cases, people want different things. The reality of that orange is that one side actually wanted the juice. The other side needed the peel to make candy. So two people wanted the same thing, but actually they could share. But you have to cut the challenge, the conflict into pieces. If you cut it into pieces, you will find a way to share. Teach your kids not to look at the problem as a one-sum game. Cut it into pieces and share. It's not only about compassion and kindness, it's about logic. Mindset of orange helps you share. Use of the word love. People are human, they need love. So mainly in China, it's about the feeling, right? It's about what you do. But the word love has power beyond only the feeling of what you do. When you raise up your kids, I encourage you to use the word love. It gives confidence, it gives safety, even if it's just a word. Of course, word has to be linked with action. But the word love has power. Use it more, as much as you can. The last point, creativity. We're entering into a lifetime of robots, AI, machinery. I come from the venture capital world. This is what we look for: efficiency, new technologies that will replace jobs and people. One thing cannot be changed in the near future is the ability to innovate and create. Create things that don't exist. Ideas. Helping people in a creative way. Sharing in a creative way. Thinking in a creative way. When you take your kids to study English, it's nice, they will speak English. But taking them to a challenge of the unknown and finding a solution for the unknown, or the impossible, as was Raz said, is the way to give them skills that they will need for the future. Creativity is a key tool for the future, not structures and moving by manual. This is where the business comes in, this is where passion comes in, and this is where pride comes in. Everywhere, encourage them. That was my last point, and I'll just end by saying that the experiences our family went through in China were outstanding. And we thank you, everyone here and everyone in China, for sharing with us such an amazing kind of life with ups and downs and complexity. But it teaches us we're all human beings. We all can get our family close and all can share. And I hope to be sharing with you more and see you again soon. Thank you. Sheshe.